Good morning. Welcome to the Lisle Women's Club virtual tour of GardenGait 2021. This morning we are with...
We're Dan and Sharon Helderly. Thanks for including us in the garden walk this year.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Most gardeners that we talk to, or wannabe gardeners, are always curious about where did the inspiration come from, what was the seed that germinated into what I'm looking at is a fabulous garden.
Well, we put an addition on our home it started in March of 2009 and finished right before our daughter's first birthday in November. And this area was very shaded and we didn't know what to do with it. So we worked with the designer of our patio and he actually designed this shade garden. We have over 23, when we started we had 23 varieties of hostas, and since then it's grown from there. We've added more hostas. We've, especially in the past 2 years, thanks to the encouragement and inspiration of one of our good friends, we've been trying to add more natives in. So that's kind of where it came from. And we do get sun part of the day, but everything that we have over here has continued to thrive, even when there's been a little, now that there is a little bit more sun. When people are here or in the virtual walk, they'll see that we do have a blue spruce that's very unhealthy at the beginning. We're doing our best to keep it alive. It does get more sun now than it used to, and everything is still doing very well.
I understand you've got some plants that came from a long time ago, and
sure, we've in the back area of our yard we have some irises that originated from my dad planted them in our yard on 59th Street, and Sharon grew up right here on Coley Road. And at some point, my dad gave Sharon's folks some of the irises. Well, before her mom moved out of her house, we transplanted some of those to our garden.
oh, that's wonderful.
So they're in the back of our property by, both our parents are passed. So at the back of our property we have a large stone and it says Joe and Mary's Meadow. And the irises are planted by that. And then on this side of the house, for my parents, we have a little stone bench that we bought through the Lisle HSO flower sale from the stone guy that they work with from Lisle. That has a poem on it, a prayer on it that's hung in my living room growing up. And still to this day, I'm one of 5 siblings. Every one of the siblings has that prayer hanging somewhere in their homes.
Oh, what a lovely remembrance of both of your parents. It's amazing how a garden can be more than just flowers.
Yes, and it's there are so many memories with our family here. We've done family pictures on this side of the house and all of those things, so it's fun watching, and we make a point of taking pictures of the girls out here. Another fun little tidbit is we were married at the Morton Arboretum. Our reception was in the ginkgo room, and we have 4 ginkgos in our yard. One that we bought, one that was a sapling from my cousin's yard that they brought to us like this, and now it's the big one on the east side of the property. And then the 2 smaller ones are from my husband's best friend's parents from when they were little, and they were little saplings that they grew in their yard, and they're both at least this tall now, and they were given for each of our girls. So the trees are Rose and Lila.
Oh, golly, that is lovely.
Best friend from first grade.
Yeah.
At the Meadow School.
Yeah, and we have actually bricks from the old Meadow School in our garden as well.
What is your favorite? I know this is going to be difficult. It's like talking about your favorite child, but what is your favorite plant or area in your garden?
It's a combo. We worked with a garden designer that really listened to what we wanted. We wanted low maintenance, we wanted color. I love hydrangeas, and when you walk around the yard, we have at least 5 different kinds of hydrangeas on different sides of the yard, and I love that our garden is beautiful to us at all times of the year. That every season it gives us some surprise. So I would say, and of course this side is my favorite. I walk out here every day in the spring and watch it come to life. It makes me so happy.
Sounds to me like you like everything.
Well, it's a labor of love.
It is.
When you put a lot of plants in, it's a labor of love. So
I think for me, it's the ensemble. It's come together better than I think we thought. We had a couple of years, rough years, where for some reason things didn't survive or roots got eaten. But I think just as we put thought into this, right here, the elephant ear is not up yet, but it gets a big, those big leaves are awesome.
Yes.
So, but like our gates, when you come in, our landscaper engineered them. They were the harps from inside the grand piano, baby grand piano, I think. So, and music's important to us, so he thought these were in his barn for many years, and he thought we had a really great relationship with them. And so he goes, these would be perfect as gates. He said, go for it. And so he prepared them, and that's what you see when you first come in. So we just got to think all the little touches we have in here that are personal touches, and in between all the plants and stuff is kind of nice.
Good morning, and thank you for your time today.
Happy to be here and be part of the garden walk this year. I'm Lisle.
All right, Sheila, if you could tell us something that most gardeners are always curious about. How long did it take you to develop everything that we're going to be seeing?
It's been a work in progress. We've been here 30 years, so I'd say about 25 years I've been working on the garden. So behind me we've got the row of peonies. Those are from roots I dug up from my husband's grandparents' house 10 or 15 years ago. I can't quite recall off the top of my head at the moment. So those are all from them. They're in bloom right now. Just kind of a nice feature on this side of the garden. On the opposite side, that whole front corner is kind of what gets the attention. Daffodils and jonquils in the spring. I have a hellebore, which is a Lenten rose, kind of in front. People often stop and ask about. I've got lavender up there, some perennials, and I don't know, some other things mixed in. Things kind of get moved around here until I figure out what works best for them. So,
do you have an opportunity to let children play with the lamb's ear?
Oh yeah, that's definitely, if someone comes by or if I dig it up to share with someone, I point out that you've got to feel it and you've got to smell it, which I didn't discover the smell right away, but it's got that sweet bubblegum smell to it. Just kind of a sensory, tactile thing.
Sure, what's not to like?
Yeah. Just a couple of weeks ago, a woman very generously let me dig some things up from her garden. She was moving, so I was able to add some new types of hostas into my hosta section on the side. I have been gifted some hydrangeas over the years, spring kind of. I have one that's a gift from a student. He graduated the same year that I retired, so it's kind of reminds me of him, reminds me of that. So I have several hydrangeas in there that mostly have come to me as gifts over the years that I've now assembled in one section. There's one poor hydrangea that had a couple spots before it. Finally, I've decided I can't move that poor thing anymore, and it's staying put. I've gotten gifts of different types of mint from another student 15 years ago or so. So I've got some varieties of mint beyond spearmint in there that I know come to me from her. And mistakes get made along the way, things that I've worked over the years to sort of rein in that I didn't realize we're going to move so fast in a sunny location. That, research, I figured out the hard way that I gotta look up the background on a plant and decide if it needs to stay or where I need to put it, and be a little bit more mindful sometimes of where I put things.
Well, that's important to know, but they usually find their way. They can adapt most times.
Yes.
I'm looking at these buckeyes behind you. They provide wonderful shade. Is there a story about them?
Definitely. I was on a Cub Scout trip with my second son, and we gathered some of the buckeyes. It was something that they had always gathered at their grandfather's house, Ron's parents' house, because they had buckeyes there. So we gathered some up. I stuck them in a pot, put them in the garage over the winter, and in the spring they had blossomed. They started to sprout, and I just kept them going. I gave a couple of them away, and so the two that remain were ones that I'm thinking sometime around 2005 or 6 I might have planted. They were a couple years old by that point. So that was kind of fun to grow them. I've got a couple more because now they produce. The squirrels come along and pretty much strip them bare in late August. Those are another things I like to give to kids so they can peel it open and see what's inside, and it's supposed to be a good luck charm to have a buckeye. But they plant them and they forget about them, and then they sprout in the spring, and then I come along and dig them up and put them in a pot and see if I can grow some more trees.
And they obviously love that spot. They are thriving.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's sometimes hard when they're just these little teeny tiny things to imagine how much space they'll fill, but it works out.
Well, Sheila, thank you so much for taking the time. And I know that we're going to be looking through your garden. So perhaps that's our next step. We can take a look.
Sure. I think the daisies were gifted to us by birds dropping seeds. I never planted them.
Really?
And then in through here I've got the chocolate mint and the apple mint. I don't really do anything with them.
Take one.
Yeah, but when I pull them, you can get the aroma of it. I always enjoy that. We've got a buckeye coming up in here.
Oh.
And 2 over in that pot.
Anyone want a buckeye? There's
Yeah.
one coming up.
They got a couple years, but I can't help myself. But 2 sugar maples.
They're beautiful though when they turn.
Yeah.
In the fall. They're lovely.
Yeah. Magnolia by the other bird bath.
Yes.
So in here is a lot of hostas and a couple of different sedum mixed inside, and more lemon verbena. And if I don't get to it quickly, there'll be 500 maple trees growing fast. Lots of activity here with the hummingbirds, because they figured out that, it takes them a while to remember every year to come back. Because so much falls on the ground, then every year we have a pair of ducks that come through, just feed from the ground, and then a good variety of birds. And finally, last year for the first time I saw orioles on, trying to use the hummingbird feeder unsuccessfully. So then I bought an oriole feeder, and I've seen a couple of orioles on it this year. So.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're very happy to be here today, filming for the Lisle Women's Club GardenGait. Thank you so much for participating and allowing us to come and share the beauty of your garden.
Thanks for stopping by, and it's been a nice day today, so we're glad to have you. Yeah, we're very glad to have you and glad to participate. Well, we had bought the house 25 years ago, and most of the framework, the retaining wall and everything was existing. The pool was existing, and we saw the house in October, and the kids were playing in the pool along the steps. And I had 2 young kids, so we kind of really fell in love with the property, and we bought it at that time.
It was always going to be on this grand of a scale.
Always. I love flowers. I've been planting and arranging flowers since I was a little girl. So when we first came, it was more annuals, and we slowly converted it to be like 80% of my garden is perennial now. And I just plant the pots, that's it. Otherwise everything is perennial. So we changed it over the years.
So it's an evolution, because if you see this tree, it was existing. this that linden over there was existing, and then added some hostas and kind of planted around it. Evergreen tree. We have a weeping evergreen. We have a weeping redbud. So it's an evolution. Like we're sitting around in early spring, and we say, I can't see anything. It's blank. So then you plant, try and look for a tree and plant it. So that's how it's basically need basis. Now we have grandkids, so we put a playhouse for them to enjoy. Before that, we had a swing set. That my kids outgrew it, so then we use the house for their engagement party, graduation party.
Goodness, so your property has evolved to serve many purposes.
Yes, it's evolved, and it's evolved with our life, and our family.
Well, you say you put in some hostas. People will see the ribbons hosta around the front of the house, down the side of the house, around the back of the house. More than just some hosta.
No, we put, we in the front we put this lemon green shaped giant hostas, and they thrive so much that we kind of split it. And then we saw an empty spot, and we said, okay, let's do it. If you see a different color of astragalus, we'll buy some, and if it thrives, we'll split it. I'm sharing it with my neighbor now. The neighbor has done a patio, and we just talked across the fence.
I was going to ask, what do you do when you don't see any more empty spots?
No, we the house next door, all the hostas and hydrangeas you see in that property is from mine.
Okay.
We
so
said,
you share.
Yeah,
share,
it's
right?
like,
Run
come
out
on.
of empty spots, you share.
So I have like my friends. I've dug out some hostas, and even my assistants, the receptionists, all of them have just because they love this giant shaped hostas. And,
You don't see these in
stores that much, but yeah.
No, they're beautiful. They're actually.
Even the hydrangeas, we've been spreading it around, and they're kind of pretty robust breed. So they're kind of.
So with all this work that you've done, is there a particular plant that you were very happy that it took hold and grew? Is there something special that you planted that?
Well, emotionally, we are attached to the peonies. Actually, the peonies over here.
they're from my old house.
When we lived in Naperville, and there are, peonies over there, and I didn't know, and we saw it in early spring, and then it was kind of beyond our budget. For some reason, we didn't buy it at that time, and then fall, and we realized that that house is still on the market, and then we eventually bought it. So when I walked out, I said, after the closing, when I walked out, I said, hey, they dug this nice bush out, but I never realized that the peonies are they wilt in the next season they came up, and then we were in that home for almost 20 years, and when we moved, we just dug it up and we got it with us. And it survived so many replanting because we put it in some spot, and they were not doing too well because they didn't get too much sun. And then, we moved it around a couple of times, but some of them have survived, and we are very happy.
What would you say your most favorite spot is in the garden? What is the place that brings you joy when you get to sit there?
Basically, most of the time we sit around here on the patio, and
In that corner.
in that corner where the view of the house is nice, but that's right on the edge of the fence. But we have speakers outdoors, so we listen to music. Sometimes the cops have come and told us to lower the volume.
So you can gaze across the water and look at your beautiful plants.
Yes,
Lovely.
yes.
Well, thank you very much
Thank you
for
very much,
participating today, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us share your beautiful garden on our garden walk this year. We're very, very happy to have you, and look forward to hearing more about your garden.
Well, it's our pleasure. It's for the women's club, so it's an honor to be on the walk. We actually designed the layout of everything. Originally, we used to have a large blue spruce and 3 northerns back here, but then over time they got like 60 feet high, things like that. So then this used to be like totally shade in this area, but then of course we had to take the 3 or 4 evergreens down, and then it switched to sun. So as things mature and change, the flower beds have to go along with that and change. So then we started, I had a lot of hostas, and I started them from the front so that you could kind of follow them as you walk through the yard. And then of course we brought some over to this side. And
but I noticed that at the point where it kind of narrows and then widens again, it looks like
right.
you have hydrangeas in the front now?
Yes, I wanted them to be like
sun.
on the arch.
Yes.
And then their large one over to the right of the birdhouse is a hydrangea. That's an oak hydrangea. It starts white, it'll go pink, and it'll be deep red by fall. Yeah. Well, we really like the koi pond. That's probably our most favorite. I don't know, and I think I also really like having to change and adapt the garden. You know, it's nice not to be out here every day, you know, digging and all that, but it's just nice to come out and be able to plant new things, move things around. Sometimes we divide and give to friends, you know, share the flowers. Yeah, we started, you know, like I said, from the front, and then when we did the patio up by the house, Ray said to me, you know, it'd be nice maybe have a water feature. So then I started researching it. I went to a class at Morton Arboretum, and just kind of a lady showed, did a presentation with all different ponds and water features. So then we started with a little preform, and then I had plants in there, and the plants covered the entire thing. You could never see the fish. So then we decided to go bigger. So we did, and then we went bigger. And this is as large as we're going, because we just originally had the lower pond, then we added in the upper. We actually designed it. We only made a change about every 5 to 6 years, because you had to adapt. And the concept was, a lot of people take their fish, bring them in the winter in the house, bring the plants in. I said, I'm not doing any of that. I didn't put this in the yard to haul it into the house in the winter time. So it was kind of like, you know, we'd expand and then we'd learn more. You know, we lost a few fish, lost some plants. So you learn as you go. So we started in 96.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a long process. This just didn't happen overnight.
But the result is stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. I like the shape of it. You've got that high point
with the waterfall up there.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and we enjoy, you know, we're retired now, but when we were working, we enjoyed coming home every day, sitting in our favorite chairs by the pond, relax.
Nice.
Come out here on a nice morning, cup of coffee. Yeah, it's nice.
Well, Charlene, thank you very much for participating.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone is going to enjoy seeing your garden.
I hope so.
I am Roger.
And I'm Lisa.
Well, it's an interesting question because it's the whole kind of idea of the garden. It's like, because nothing is planned. It's just wherever you look, there might be a little path or just something to put a smile on your face. And I think the whole idea of this, the relaxation part of it. You know what I mean? And that's why we garden, really.
For me, I agree with what Roger said, but I do have 2 areas of the garden that are my favorites, and unfortunately one of them is already bloomed and spent, so you won't be able to see that, but it's my peony tree. I have a white peony tree. It's a small tree, but it is a tree, and it's just absolutely beautiful when it blooms in the spring, but it's spent right now. And then another is my father, his favorite tree or bush, plant was a fragrant viburnum, and that also unfortunately has come and gone, but that's in one part of our garden, and I do love that.
Well, we've been here in the house 42 years. We kind of got into gardening maybe 20, 25 years ago, meaning getting into it, we just say, hey, we've got a lot of trees and we don't have a lot of grass, so let's kind of put some stuff here or there. And so we started putting hostas and things in and kind of see what works, and a lot of different grasses. And we tried a vegetable garden once, and that was a terrible failure.
We do have some tomato plants and some herbs, but other than that, that's all we do. Yeah. But I giggle because when we started getting into gardening, our children would say, why do you and Dad like to work outside in the yard all the time? You spend so much time planting and weeding and changing up the yard. And I said, someday you're going to want to do that too. And it's funny because now they're at that stage where they garden. So I guess we passed on something good to them about gardening. I think we have a really unique yard in that Roger has named this, and I love this, how he's put it, but we're more casual gardeners. We're not like everything has to be perfectly manicured and you can only have a clump of this here and a little bit of that over here. We just let things go where they want, and some of it's very whimsical and some of it's kind of organized, but I would say our shade garden and the pathways that we have throughout the backyard, and you'll see it's multi-layered, so there's quite a bit to see.
Yeah, we're always adding stuff. We added a little part on the south side of the house. I did some transplants early out in the spring, and it's just a garden. It's very subjective. Whatever
makes you happy.
Whatever makes you happy. It's like what's your favorite wine, the one you like. There's no real definitive answer. it's just take it in and enjoy it. If you like it, fine. And just enjoy the moment. Let's get a lot of people to make a lot of money.
Yeah, for the Women's Club. We're really excited though, and happy to share our yard with all of you.
And I've been looking at the long-range forecast.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like maybe low 80s and partly sunny.
Yep.
So let's keep our fingers crossed.
See you there.